Hey there, Regina Andler here, and it is time for another Tips and Tricks Tuesday. So, on this week's Tips and Tricks Tuesday, I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about change and what change actually is. You know, you hear people talk about change all the time. They say change is hard, and I don't like change. And people associate change with something not good. And I'm here to tell you that change is good. First off, change is good. And second, every single day, you are changing. Whether you like it or not, you are changing. Your body, your energy, everything about you is in a constant state of change. And yet, we are brought up to consider change as something that's not so good. We think of change as, well, if something's going to change and it's not the way we used to do it, it makes us feel uncomfortable. So the reason people think and associate change with something that is bad is because change is really just taking a step out of your comfort zone and doing something different. And we are constantly doing something different. We're learning something new. We're going to a new restaurant. We're hanging out with new people. We're meeting somebody new. Whatever it is, however you think about it, we are in a constant state of change. And every single day you have some kind of a change in your life. And if nothing else, if you can't come up with anything else for that change in your life, well, just consider the change was, well, you started at the beginning of your day and you ended at the end of your day. That was change. You changed from one day to the next. We are in a constant state of change, and change is good. Change is a good thing when you learn to embrace the change and accept what is. So today I just wanted to give you some tips about change. And while we're talking about change, one of my favorite books is Who Moved My Cheese? And this is by Spencer Johnson. You read that there, Spencer Johnson, MD. And old book. This has been out for quite some time. It's one of my favorite books on change. Why? It's a really, number one, it's a really easy read. Number two, it is a entertaining and very informative read about change and how change works. And it basically comes down to, what would you change? What would you do differently if you weren't afraid? Most people consider change a bad thing because they're afraid. Well, what if? What if it doesn't work out right? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if something bad happens because of this change? What if something good happens? What if something changes in your life and alters the your life forever in a positive way? That's a good change. So know that, yes, there can be good change and bad change. And it's for you to assess and decide which changes are right for you. So we have those changes that happen every single day. Your body, your cells, the day, your time, everything, it changes. That's, we don't think about it because it just is. We just accept it for what it is. We don't consider, well, I don't like the change in time, so I'm going to stay in this moment forever. You can't do that. You know you can't do that. So you don't even think about it. This change that happens all the time. When you think about real change, you think about, well, I'm changing where I live. I'm changing my job. I'm changing and starting a business. I'm changing a relationship. Whatever it is, that is the change. There's some things to consider when you're thinking about change. So my tips for change, there's four of them. And the first one really is, consider the change for what it is and what your role is in that change. Is it a change that you have any control over? Is it something that's happening to you, or is it something happening in the world or to somebody else that you have no control over? If it's a change you have no control over whatsoever, choose to respond in a way that makes your outcome work best for you. Remember, you always have the choice on how you respond. The only thing that you can ultimately control at any particular time is how you choose to respond to whatever's going on around you. So if something's changing outside your bubble, outside your world, that you have no control over, consider your response. What is your role in that change? Is it just something that's happening so you're along for the ride and you have no choice about it at all? And so whether you like the change or not, there it is. Consider your role and then decide how you want to respond to make that change most effective for you. If it's a change that's not so good, what lessons are being learned? What are you getting out of a bad change? Something bad happens, and as a result, something bad outside of you happens. As a result, you physically have to do some kind of a change. Maybe this is going way out. Maybe your house burns down. That's a big change. Consider what happened. Your house burns down. Your life is all of a sudden thrown into a disarray, and you had no control over that event. Now you can choose to get down into the muck and mire and, I'm just going to say it, the drama of everything that's going on. Yes, there's emotions, there's stuff, there's all kinds of things going on in that moment. When you stop and consider it, you're still here. You're still alive. Be grateful for what is still there. Even though the change may be something else. So now you need to build a new home, or you need to move someplace, or, it uplifts your entire life, right? That's a huge change when, a big event like that happens in your life. You get to consciously decide how you want to deal with that and how you want to move forward. And a lot of times I've actually heard people say, I lost it all, and I was really, really super upset when I lost it all. And yet in the process, once all was said and done, and we're talking, a couple of years later, they looked back and said, that altered my life forever, actually in a good way. I was able to let go of the past. I was able to, get a new start, get a fresh start. So, and that's the mindset. That's where you think of, what is the change? What's your role in it? And how can you make it most beneficial for you? So that's number one, to consider the change and your role in it. Number two, stop resisting. Change happens. It happens all the time. You wouldn't be where you are right now, right here at this moment, without change. I mean, let's face it. You were born. You started growing up. Lots of changes physically, right? You learned how to walk. You learned how to crawl. You learned how to walk. You went to school. There was change after change after change after change. I don't know if you remember your first day at school. I know a lot of parents these days are doing the videos and the fit pictures and everything else. And that first day of school is really traumatic for a lot of children, whether it's kindergarten or preschool or whatever it is. And you see that, it's very traumatic. And, kids are screaming and crying. They don't want to leave mommy. They don't want to leave daddy. They want to stay home. They want to stay with what they know. And yet they're being forced to change. They're being forced to go to preschool. They're being forced to go to kindergarten. And so they kind of freak out for a minute. And then they get there. And they're like, this isn't so bad after all. I've got friends to play with. They give me snacks. They let me nap during the day. There's a really nice person here who's taking care of me all day long. This isn't so bad after all. Once you get past that initial piece of the change, it's not so bad anymore, right? That's because it is now part of your comfort zone. You're expanding your comfort zone. Whenever you make a change, that's what you're doing. You're expanding that comfort zone. So what you used to be comfortable with, now you're comfortable out here. Now you're comfortable out here, and you just keep expanding. And that's what the universe is all about. It's all about expansion. So stop resisting, embrace it, and let it happen. The next one is to validate your feelings. So when a change happens, yes, there is that moment. I'm scared. I'm mad. I'm going to take a step back. I'm not so sure that I want to go do this. Take a moment and assess what your feelings are, because, you need to validate your feelings. Those are real things, and they're all affecting your energy. So if you're scared, if you're anxious, if you're stressed, consider that, because that's lowering your energy. And when you lower your energy, things can start getting a little hairy because now you're inviting more scary stuff in. So consider those feelings and literally take a step outside yourself and think to yourself, well, what if this goes good? What if this doesn't go so good? Look at it from an outsider point. If it goes good or not so good, what's the worst that can happen? What's the best that can happen? Consider what it is. And then once you validate all the feelings that are going along with that, now you've acknowledged them, given yourself permission to be human. So if you had that little freak out at the start of the change where, something maybe changed quickly or dramatically, that you had no control over and you were forced into a change that you didn't necessarily want. Maybe it was a layoff from work and all of a sudden you find yourself out of work unexpectedly. You were the last person you thought was ever going to get laid off and they laid you off. That happens all the time. It happens to a lot of people. And that first initial reaction, people, what am I going to do now? Go into depression, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety because their future is unknown. The future of their employment is unknown. Out of that, I know a lot of people who have started businesses, got better jobs at a better company. When you embrace the change, whatever it is, it brings the good stuff to you so that the change works in your favor. So validate those feelings that come in. Don't get stuck in them. So if the feelings are stress, scared, anxiety, acknowledge them for what they are and go, okay, here's where I am. Where do I want to be? Give yourself that time to be, the permission to be human, that time to be where you are, because it is what it is, right? And then take yourself to where you want to be. You have control over that. It's your story. And so my last and final, fourth, is let go of the drama. Let all of the drama along with the change go. People talk about, making resolutions and goals and all the stuff that you do at the beginning of a year. As we record this today, we just started. We're in the first week of the new year, or the second week of the new year. We're in the second week of the new year. And, people are talking about those resolutions and those goals. And some of those goals for some people are a little scary because they're outside of the comfort zone. And that's okay. Do not allow yourself to get caught up in the drama behind it. And what I mean by that is you go to make a change. And then somebody says, maybe we'll use you decided that this year is the year that you're going to start a business. And that's a big change. Your goal is to quit your day job and start a business. And that's going to be a huge change. And so it's really scary, right? Way outside your comfort zone. And now you start talking to friends and family, and they're like, wow, are you really sure you want to do this? Do you really actually think you can make this change like this? Because, that's really big. And other people will start pulling you down. You will now start thinking, I don't know, am I doing the right thing? Should I actually be doing this, or should I just go get another job? I don't even know what I want to do. You start second guessing yourself. You start getting caught up in the drama along with the change. Drop the drama. The change just is. Let it be what it is. And if you decide or discover that it's not the right change, guess what? Your story, you get to change it. Change your change. You get to decide what it is that you want to do. That's all your choice. That's all in your response. So my 4 tips, once again, are consider the change and your role in the change. And then stop resisting. Don't resist the change. Change is, and it's happening all the time around you. Every single day, there's some kind of change happening. Some you have control over, some you don't have control over. This is where that phrase, "it is what it is," really comes into play. It's not one of my favorite phrases, but however, this one really is what it is. So just allow it to be. Stop resisting. And then validate your feelings. because they're real and they're part of you. So I'm not saying to ignore the fact that you're scared or that you're anxious or that you're stressed out or, um, you know, feeling anxious about some kind of change coming up or a change that was forced upon you. Validate those feelings because those are real and they affect your energy. So acknowledge them and then validate them and move on. And last but not least, don't get caught up in the drama. Drama is, well, drama. And it's never a good thing. And it's your life. And there will be change. Some of the change may not be the change that you're looking for. Guess what? You get to decide to do something different. Change to something that is working better for you. Other change is good change. Keep doing more of that. The key to a happy life is to accept all of those things and own it. Take 100% responsibility for your life. Admit to yourself that life is about change, and I embrace change. I acknowledge change, and change is good. So this year, when you're thinking about those resolutions and those goals, remember, all change is good, even the not so good change, because in that not so good change, there's a lesson to be learned. There's things that you learn about yourself inside of those things. Take what you can from the change, keep it at a positive level, and then move forward from there. Wishing you a very happy 2023. Keep going with those changes. If you have any comments or questions about change, feel free to comment right underneath this video. I'll be happy to help you out with any changes that you might be going through. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye for now.